Let's go! LSU Spring Game film study. Garrett Nussmeier was the star. We're going to focus mostly on him today. Comment down below. Do you think Nuss is the actual QB1 for LSU? So, of course, we want to compare all three of the quarterbacks, and honestly, Walker Howard had a decent outing as well for his first time out at Tiger Stadium. But let's first talk about what LSU did the most of during the spring game, which was mesh. And you're looking at a draw-up of it, and what essentially is this wide receiver runs a short crosser, this wide receiver runs a short crosser, and Brian Kelly said in the post-game press conference that LSU only played one coverage the entire day. And this is honestly a really simple read for Garrett Nussmeier because Mike Jones has man coverage responsibility on this running back, and you see all this traffic he's going to have to run through, which is why mesh works well versus man coverage. It's why in this building in 2020, Mike Leach threw for over 600 yards. Running man coverage too high versus mesh concepts is just going to get you killed, and that's exactly what happened here to Tre Bradford, and LSU ran a lot of mesh. I saw it with Walker Howard. I saw it with other quarterbacks. So obviously, good throw, good read right there by Garrett Nussmeier, but this was relatively simple. So we move ahead to the 2nd and 8, and this is just unbelievable quarterback play, okay? So Garrett Nussmeier gets the snap, and this is something I really like about Nuss. It's a blessing and a curse. This ball should probably be going to Malik Nabers right here. It's wide open. Just throw it. That's an easy completion. But you saw this last year with Garrett Nussmeier. He's got a really good pocket. Not the best, not the worst, but he steps up once he feels Will Campbell starting to give in right here to B.J. Ojulari. And instead of throwing this out, he likes to drive the football down the field. And look at where this ball is put. This is just like his games last year. Instead of just taking the easier option, he likes to drive the football down the field and try and make the amazing completion, and his receivers rarely ever actually make the amazing completion. And you'll see right here on this replay, you expect Jaray to make this catch. It is a tough catch. We are moving in slow motion. So yeah, once again, it's just a philosophical thing. Do you rather just complete the easy ball to Malik, or do you actually want to drive the football down the field? So here we are, 4th and 8. Pretty simple read right here, though. Good pressure throw. Don't take anything away from it, but it's pretty simple. If you know they're playing man coverage, and honestly, I don't know if the offense did or didn't. Essentially, what happens here is Malik draws the coverage. So he's going to run essentially a go, and since his corner is playing off, all Chris Hilton has to do is run underneath Malik. It's kind of like a screen Malik is setting. So the guy guarding Chris Hilton is drawn away from Malik. Nuss has a perfect pocket to throw an easy catch right here to Chris Hilton. This is honestly a really good tackle right here in the open field. He goes down immediately. Still first down. Once again, very simple stuff. Nuss is like, look, if you're going to keep playing man coverage, I know exactly what I want. Just good, short, intermediate stuff. The safety is responsible right here for Cole Taylor. There's no way the safety can go all the way down on this out. Once again, it's pretty simple stuff right here. Good catch by Kole, but most tight ends are going to be making this catch right here. What I really liked, though, was the finish. Okay? You make this guy miss, you're just carrying these guys. And right here, if you're Mike Jones, what you don't want to do is just lead with your head like this. Let's just say Cole Taylor's head went this way. That's almost a targeting call. Just go up there and wrap him up and make sure he doesn't get this first down, because Cole Taylor ultimately gets enough. He actually got a bad spot right here. Go wrap him up, but more so punch the football. If they're holding it right there, let's try and create a turnover, because obviously he's not going anywhere. Instead, we actually knocked pin off, and that allowed Cole Taylor to fall forward. Once again, it's their first time tackling really people to the ground, but boom, I'm looking at you. Okay, let's do a little bit of trivia. This 3rd and 1 play after the bad spotting of the football was made by one of these defenders. All right, I want you to guess which defender actually ends up making the play. I'm going to let you, wherever you are, make a guess, and let's go ahead and run this play. And the answer is none of them. In fact, it was a guy who wasn't even on your screen. It was Jay Ward who made this play right here. John Emery, obviously a low tackle, something you don't want to see with Emery's injury history. Still, knowing Jay Ward's tackling history, this is really encouraging stuff. So I know it's a spring game. I don't like trips bunch on 3rd and short just because it gets more people into the run fit. But we actually block everyone to perfection, okay? In fact, Cole Taylor is dominating Savion Jones. The missed block was by Jaray Jenkins, okay? First off, this is just a good play by Jay Ward. He is selling out to stop this run. We need Jaray to get a hit on him, and, he's a receiver. So you see how we did a thing on when Kiner transferred, how important wide receiver blocking is for your run fit. But honestly, look at Cole Taylor just dominate Savion Jones. He turns him to the inside. He's pushing him back, and that's just nasty. We have got to pick up this yard. There's nothing really Emery could do about this. Jay Ward just flies in there and makes a really good play. There's just nothing you could do. You need your receiver to step up and make a better block. That's Jamal Adams stuff. So now it's 4th and 1. We spread out a little bit more, and we actually converted. It's amazing what happens there. This is just a really good read right here by John Emery. He sees that this is just all muddied up, and he immediately knows to just bounce. Good job again by Kole blocking and getting the contained defender inside. And John actually breaks this tackle of the corner and fights forward for a few extra yards. Just some amazing, amazing running right there from John Emery. Look at this. Good finish. Jay Ward actually makes a big tackle there again. This is essentially a 2-for-1, and this is why our defenses were so bad. If you run man coverage on every snap, all offenses are going to do is just run crossers where defensive backs are running into each other, and you're getting a 2-for-1, okay? This guy is being blocked off by the receiver, and this receiver's responsibility is Jack Bech, so Jack, of course, can't hit him, but just that little bit creates that separation right there. And look at where this ball is put, all right? Yes, it's a wide open throw. Yes, it's easy. Yes, you got an absolutely clean pocket, but notice where it is, okay? Right there into Cole's stride. Good stuff right there. And Jay Ward makes, once again, another really good open field tackle. And what I want to talk about is what we talked about a minute ago, that play work of Tre Bradford was stuffed. Our defensive linemen stalemated and were able to stay in their gaps. What happens here is the opposite, and you're actually going to see this happen to Mason Smith a few times, okay? You have to be able to control your run fit. So what happens here is he is lined up and responsible for this side A-gap. Cole Taylor's pulling around here. We're also pulling our right guard. So, yes, it's good that Mason got good penetration, and it slowed down the right guard a little bit, but it still increases this A-gap. And now all we need is Myles Frazier to kick this guy out, and we need Cole Taylor to get a block right here on Greg Penn. And you notice if Mason just stays in his gap, this play is just stuffed. But because he was so cleanly blown out of his A-gap, some of it was his penetration. This opened things up for Armoni Goodwin. Good job by Charles Turner getting to the second level and getting in the way of, actually that's Will Campbell. So now we get to the very next play, and it was the Armoni Goodwin touchdown, and we're just going to go on in and give you the end zone angle. Running plays are always better from the end zone angle. And what essentially happens here is Mason Smith was actually inside the shoulder of, he was in this A-gap to start the play, okay? But you notice he jumps into the opposite side A-gap. We saw LSU's defensive tackles do this a lot, and that's not what you want to do, right? You want to be able to keep your run fits, okay? Now, the reason why that's important is because if Myles Frazier had gotten a better block right here, Goodwin actually could have run through this gap, but Greg Penn did an excellent job not getting blocked right here by Frazier and sitting in this A-gap, and Goodwin sees that he couldn't get through there. We do get away with the hold right here on Xavier Carter. They're going to call that during the game, okay? So this should not have counted, but they sometimes don't call holding. Good finish right here by Armoni Goodwin. But still a little lucky. However, the run fits still aren't the absolute best. So we actually go back to Garrett Nussmeier's first drive. We actually, that was his second drive. Now we're to his first. Part of it is this graphic was in the way. That's part of the reason why I moved it around. But honestly, this is once again really good quarterbacking. This football could have been out before the break. Obviously, he's waiting for the receiver to get completely open. Right here, this ball could have been released a little bit sooner, but the pocket was so good, he was able to wait for it to be completely open. Good throw. And believe it or not, Kyron Lacy had 9 targets, and this was the only catch. Now, some of the targets were uncatchable. We'll get to some of those in just a moment. But this shows you a little bit of what he could do, making a few guys miss and picking up the first down. Boom! I'm looking at you. Yes, you right now. Huh? Yeah, I'm going to do a lot of booms today. Because I got to make sure you're awake, because this video is a little bit longer because, of course, it's a film study. Of course, it's a spring game. And the linebackers backed out of this blitz. I'm going to tell you why in just a second, why that's not actually how it's going to be in a game. And once again, it's just simple man coverage. Before we actually show you the completion, this coverage has got to get tighter, okay? If I don't mind playing off right here since you have a linebacker backing out. This needs to be tighter on this 3rd and 6. We don't want pitch and catch to happen for easy 3rd down conversions. So that's just got to be tighter. And Sage Ryan is talented enough for you to trust him. Yes, Jack is a really good receiver. And this is where Jack was by far LSU's best receiver on 3rd and medium. He converted so many 3rd and mediums for LSU last year in blowouts and in close games, whether it was Alabama or Central Michigan. One more thing about this play is this is going to be something that Garrett is going to see. On 3rd and 6, they're going to blitz right here. Now, sometimes, of course, teams will back out, but the reason why teams blitz often here is they, A, want to get a sack to knock you out of field goal range, and B, if you get a sack, they're less likely to go for it on 4th down and punt the football. So that's going to you get an exotic coverage, a blitz or something, you're rarely going to get cover 1, man coverage underneath. Move ahead to the next possession here. A good run again by Armoni Goodwin. Justin Vincent was on our channel, and he talked a lot about cutting back as a running back. So Armoni Goodwin, this is what he was known for in high school. Planting and cutting to the backside when, there's overcompensation for where the play's initially going. He plants, cuts back, and there's no one accompanying these backside gaps. This is just really good running, and Armoni just finds his way through. So we get a few more Goodwin runs. This is a big mistake right here by Garrett Nussmeier. First off, the snap is bad. It's not the worst, but it's inconsistent. It's low. Yes, you want to play quick, but right here, this out, it's tough to see because, the safety's blocked off by the receiver here. But this isn't like the throws to the running backs in the flat, right? This safety is further back. It could work over the top, and that's exactly what happens. You can't throw this, right? His only saving grace is that this ball was very accurately thrown to where only his receiver could catch it. Good play by Derek Davis Jr., but if this ball is thrown any more to the inside, this is a pick 6 right here. What you need to do is obviously go through your progressions. Yes, you want to get the football out quick, which is good, but this is obviously not there. So work right here to Kyron Lacy. Still, that was just a rep the defense dominated. All right, it's 3rd and 7, and this is going to sound very nitpicky. Once again, snap is just high and away. And this is honestly, once again, a simple read, okay? We are running mesh, okay? It's the same play you saw with Garrett Nussmeier to start, okay? What we're trying to do is create a lot of traffic if we know they're playing man coverage. But this time, instead of hitting the running back on an out, we're hitting it on a wheel. So the linebacker's thinking we're throwing an out, which is normally what a running back does, out to the flats. Instead, it is a wheel over the top. It's very simple stuff. You could see why mesh is so good versus man coverage. You could throw it here to Jack Bech, but really where you should be throwing it is over the top. And once again, not to pick on Josh Williams, I'm glad you caught it. That's the number one thing. most running backs keep their feet and score a touchdown there. You see it here. This is a difficult play for the linebacker, okay? You've got to get over the top of this tight end, underneath this receiver running a slant. You can't really see it here. And it's just easy. Pocket's really good, except Xavier Carter almost got in there and made a sack. He was going up against walk-on. Still, a lot of running backs fall down in this spot, okay? But still, they haven't changed Garrett Nussmeier's helmet jersey number yet. But still, it's just a small little observation. And we're going to do Myles Brennan film studies, Walker Howard film studies from this spring game. And look, Brian Kelly did not have to start Garrett Nussmeier in the second half, but he did because Nuss had the best numbers. One of the few disguise coverages that LSU did right here was at the snap, it looks like too high, but this time Jay Ward sprints into the box on this rollout, okay? And once again, it's still essentially man coverage, and good job right here by Sage working over the top on Malik right here because that's where the ball is going to go, and Jay Ward just jumps in this passing lane right here, and Ali Gay's getting good pressure, good hustle. Now you just got to throw this ball away. But instead, we throw on our off foot, and I mean, the ball, okay, so you can see the ball actually gets deflected. If it doesn't, that's picked off. That is the only reason why this ball was not intercepted. So this is the second interceptable ball by Garrett Nussmeier. And look, when you're rolling out to the right, it does cut off half the field. Look, Joe Burrow's doing interception versus Ole Miss rolling out to the right. I mean, it's tough because you want to make a play. But right there, you just got to chunk that ball in the stands. So now we go 2nd and 10, and what are we doing? Well, we're going to run the football, okay? This is simple zone to the left. Nothing really spectacular about this other than a few things. This shows you the speed by Tre Bradford. You got to make this guy miss, and he does, okay? That's the top-end speed that Frank Wilson likes out of his running backs. But what actually happened? Well, I want to show Jay Ward some love right here. He did a good job swiping down that stiff arm and just making this tackle. So Guillory last year, once again, it's kind of tough to see where he's exactly lined up because the graphic is still in the way. It looks like he's in a 2, which is straight head up on the guard, okay? If you're in a 2, or I'm more than likely he's supposed to be in a 3 here, so the outside shoulder, you cannot get turned into this A-gap, right? Greg Pinn's responsibility is this A-gap. Your responsibility is this B-gap, just based on what I'm looking at right here. Unless you're being told to slant to the inside or pinch to the inside. If his job is supposed to be this gap, all right, if this is a run stunt, then he did right. And it might be. Still, he does get turned to the inside, and once this starts to happen, we don't, and this happened to LSU a lot, we don't want you in the opposite side A-gap, right? At the very least, you need to be right here. Instead, you're turned to the inside. Okay, and Guillory had issues with this in the Kentucky game last year, and just in general, we've been doing this since 2020, all right? And it's infuriating, all right? Guillory's a really talented player. We need you to maintain this gap or this gap, whatever you're being told to do. Instead, you get turned to the inside to this A gap, okay? Now, this makes this easy for Goodwin, okay? He could pick either gap to run through, and that's all he's got to do. Greg Penn keeps working his way to the outside. There's really nothing he can do right here, and now it's just off to the races. Really bad run fitting. It doesn't get any easier than that. Now, Guillory almost fought his way back in. Does get a hand to the face right here, so that's also a penalty. The second thing is safety placement, okay? So Jay Ward is somewhere way over here, which is fine. If you're Joe Fouché right here, okay, what we don't want to do is keep drifting out here because we already have contained defenders, okay? We already have this contained taken care of. So we need you back here filling in this space, if that makes sense, okay? You don't want to just run up into this alley where there's already a contained defender right there, okay? So now you're taking yourself out of the play right here. So all this space, all this green grass, I mean, that's 3 levels of bad run fitting right there. But that'll get cleaned up. Still, it's not what you want to see. Okay, so quarterbacking doesn't get any better than this. It just doesn't. So it is almost nonchalant the way Nuss threw this football. He's back, pocket's perfect. He knows it's man coverage. And, I mean, yes, this is easy if they're running the same coverage on every play. But look at where this ball is dropped. I mean, it can't be done any better than that. It's perfect quarterback play. And that's the thing. You know, in actual games, you're not going to know the coverage every time. But still, if we do get man versus Malik on the slot, we want to throw this every time. And this was actually the same exact play Myles got his late touchdown pass on Sage Ryan on. I mean, there's nothing really Sage can do right there. I mean, it's just perfect. Perfect. So now this is Mike Denbrock getting vicious. So the play before, it was a 2-by-2 formation. So now it's trips left with the tight end, and we're under center. Okay? How often do you ever see any offense under center? So hard play action to the left, and this is honestly just pitch and catch. I don't know what Xavier Carter is doing right here. Normally, once again, I'll say it 1,000 times over. I'm not the coach. I don't know what the players are being taught. But if you're the contained defender on a quarterback that's under center, you have to not go down the line of scrimmage. You're the contained guy. It is your responsibility on a bootleg, and I don't know what he's doing. He just kind of, I don't know. So this is just pretty easy for Nuss. This is what we want. Rolling out to the right, throwing in rhythm, and he throws a football to his good buddy Jack Bech. And I know we normally associate Jack Bech and Walker Howard together, but Bech was on our channel, and look, Jack says he loves him some Garrett Nussmeier, that they're really good friends. So yeah, this was actually Jack's first spring game. 6 catches on 6 targets, 2 TDs. Malik Nabers also had 2 catches on 2 targets. So you'll love to see that. Kyron Lacey and Brian Thomas Jr., we're going to talk more about them in upcoming film studies. Still, though, this LSU wide receiver rotation far from finished. But obviously, the focus of today is Garrett Nussmeier. So you guys saw when the coverages were varied just a little bit. Garrett didn't dominate, but when you let him know what the defense was going to be, or when the coverages were more simple, he shredded the LSU defense. And, when they actually brought Jay Ward in on that rollout to the right, that should have been a pick. So Nuss did have some turnover luck, but truth be told, he was the best quarterback on the field. And the biggest story is he's in this race. The intangibles are there with this young man. You saw it last year in the spring game, and we talked about this in the post-game live stream. What this guy holds is the locker room. They love him. I keep hearing how much he is really adored, and you could just see it. It does seem to be authentic. Now, obviously, we're not in the locker room. They're the only ones that can answer that question truthfully. But just based on what I'm hearing, people like Nuss. So, he's in this race. And look, do I think part of why the coverages were so simple from Brian Kelly and the defense was to help boost these quarterbacks' confidence going into a long summer period? Yes, obviously, I think some of that is true. I also think they didn't want to give any of what they're going to do defensively away. So, I think that's part of it as well. But for real, obviously, it wasn't just Garrett Nussmeier. The defensive run fits, and there were some good defensive run fits. There were also some not so good. That's obviously going to hopefully work itself out. So, yeah, I just love how Jack high points the football. But we're going to have all kinds of film studies coming up. We're going to break down all the other quarterbacks. I am doing it a little bit different. Last year we did it quarter by quarter by quarter, and that's how the quarterback reps were split up. I'm going to do it by quarterback. So I think for Monday we'll release Myles or Jayden. Just be on the lookout for it, okay? It is Power Hour LSU Bomb. And tonight, we're doing tacos. Let's go.